hit record. All right, so welcome back to the Fitness and Family Podcast. I am so excited for our next guest, Mary Claire. She is going to dive deep into her personal story of overcoming an eating disorder. And I just want to say, Mary Claire, thank you for being on this podcast in the middle of your vacation. I'm a little jealous right now that you are on a beach and you look beautiful right now.
Oh, no, thank you. Yeah, I just
Oh.
just got all ready, so
You're
yeah.
rocking you're rocking the beach waves.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh, this was literally I didn't even shower yet, just beach hair. So,
Oh,
thank
I
you.
love it. Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. So why don't you just tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I just got done with my junior year at Bowling Green, studying human development and family science, with a minor in psychology. I'm hoping to be a mental health counselor. That's my goal. Yeah, so I'm from the Cleveland area. I live in Avon. I really have been exploring a lot of new like hobbies and stuff, like pickleball. I'm a really active person. I'm involved in a lot at Bowling Green, so I'm in a sorority. Um, I also play like intramural sports like I did intramural pickleball and then I did intramural volleyball. Um, and then I also took up a new, very interesting hobby of intramural volleyball. So,
Okay,
yeah.
explain that a little bit.
So it's basically volleyball, but in like a box. Basically, you're in like one of those racquetball courts.
Okay.
You can use the wall, I guess. So it's basically volleyball, but you could hit it off the wall.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
right by where we teach the fitness
Yep.
classes?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I see
Yeah.
people playing, that is probably what they've been doing, and that's what it's called.
Yeah, yeah. So I took that up. I was like,
Nice.
oh, I was looking for another way to like get out and move my body. I was like, well, let me just try volleyball, and it was actually really fun. We won like most of our games,
Oh
so
my gosh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
so that was really fun. But yeah, so just finished up junior year. I'm really looking forward to my senior year. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to.
Good.
Um, yeah,
Well, that's the excitement of college, always trying different things, and then you're just learning about yourself. That is just the fantastic part of it. And so let me
right.
tell you, senior year, enjoy. I still remember almost like we were still in quarters at Ohio State, but I still remember like each exciting part about my senior year. And I mean, it's been a long time. So
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
for
So I'm
sure.
hoping to get some of that, those memories, rem
Yeah.
most memories from like senior year. So
Oh,
yeah,
well, fantastic. Well, let's go a little bit into, because we're going to talk about your eating disorder.
yeah,
How many years have you, when did it first start? And I should say, like, how many years have you been almost like in a recovery?
yeah. So it started in, I would say it started in like 2019. It didn't start like completely, like it wasn't like full force, eating disorder mode. It definitely like started, I had those thoughts of like thinking about, skipping lunch or like thinking about what an eating disorder is, and I was always really scared about it, and I was like, I remember I'd come home from school, and I'd tell my mom like I'm scared that I'm gonna get an eating disorder. I was always scared about it because I've heard so many like bad things about it. So that was like when I first had eating disorder thoughts, was definitely in 2019, and then it it was like at the end of 2019, kind of going into 2020, um, is when it all started. Especially when like COVID hit. I actually
I
don't
was gonna
remember.
say, did that almost really catapult it for you? Like if COVID didn't happen, do you still think that you may have still been down the path, or do you think you may have like realized it more if it wasn't for COVID?
Yeah, no, that's like a really great question. I I guess since it sort of started like before lockdown, I guess. I feel like I still probably would have gone down that path, since I was already having like sort of like thoughts about that. Um, it probably would have been like a different journey. But yeah, so I definitely feel like it probably would have still
Still would have
happened, but
happened regardless.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but COVID and like being at home, like online school and all that is when it really started getting a little bit more serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the early, because you were at home at this point, I
Yeah.
guess some of the early triggers, like was it just because you talked about like the skipping of a meal and
Mhm.
it's kind of funny you almost say that because I'm thinking back to when I was in high school and even there were times where it was our lunch lines, like our high school was so old because I was in North Royalton
Yeah.
before they
Oh
had the
yeah,
new
yeah.
high school. Yeah, and
Mhm.
our lunch lines were so like long. We only had two ways to enter. That sometimes when you got lunch, you were lucky to eat it within 5 minutes. Because I still remember too, like moments of I didn't have time to eat, so I'm not going to eat. But then it was almost those feelings of my stomach, like towards the end of the day, your stomach is hungry, but I'm just going to power through and not eat it. So you're thinking like the skipping of the meals was almost the start because clearly you thought about it.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
knew what the
yeah.
eating disorder is. What are some other kind of like moments that kind of started making you think like we're starting to go
Yeah.
down this path?
Yeah. So, as mentioned before, I'm a big like athletic type of person. So I was always in like sports and stuff during high school. So then when COVID hit, like obviously I was not, I think I was might have been playing softball at the time, like before or volleyball or something. And so when COVID hit, like I really wasn't doing anything. And I was never really much of someone to like work out outside of like school. You know, I was still young. I was just a freshman. I didn't really know anything about like working out or anything. So a big trigger was definitely the whole entire, I think it kind of spawned from like social media.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a huge trigger for me. So I'd be on social media seeing people like doing like workouts every day and dieting and like stuff like that since, you know, we're just at home all day. So I started working out every single day. And on top of that, not getting enough nutrients in my body, I was eating less and less, working out more and more, more rigidly. I would kind of like even work out after like every meal. I would try to get in like some sort of super heavy cardio. It was always cardio, like hours long of working out, and just not enough nutrients was going into my body to even like be working out that much.
Right.
So, yeah, that was social media was a huge like had a huge part in like those triggers for me. That's kind of what sparked like the working out and stuff.
Yeah. So once you found yourself doing the comparing game, well, this person looks like this. They clearly have time to do this. Nothing's stopping me right now. I'm at home. I'm stuck. Let
Yep.
me just go into it. And since you were stuck at home, it was almost like I'm just going to go full fledged into it. I have nothing better to do. And then you started to see like your body changing, the
Yeah.
weight. Were you doing like the comparison in the mirror and all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was always I was always in the mirror looking at myself from like a side view. And
Mhm.
then I would even like take photos of myself and then comparing them to how I was like before COVID or before I looked different. So, and that lasted throughout the entire eating disorder was that one specific body checking behavior. Um, it started and then it lasted throughout like the whole journey was
Mhm.
those photos.
Okay. Besides like because I know everybody because you went into the obviously like the anorexia part of
Yeah.
of it. You
Hmm.
didn't have the bulimia part. So
Hmm.
besides like you started probably your muscles, your body skeleton, all that stuff that you had in high school. Obviously, you weren't able to do that training anymore with the sport you were doing. So it started to change as you
Hmm.
probably were you getting more into like the cardio game of
100%.
everything.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so then your muscles started changing. You started almost becoming like leaner, like
Yep.
probably with that
Hmm.
losing the weight. What about because now your mental health is obviously like
Yep.
changing with this. So what did you notice any other changes with like your skin, um, your hair? Because I can imagine as people start to go through the path of anorexia, more changes
Yep.
and different steps with the body. So, like, what
Yeah.
did you start to notice?
Yeah. So I noticed, well, when I was kind of like in, the journey, I didn't notice it until like kind of way after.
Okay.
Like I would look at photos of myself like during that time, but I would always hear it from my mom. Like, she would always like tell me things that she was realizing.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had I was losing a lot of hair. So like not normal, like in a hairbrush, you've got a little bit hair. It was like excessive amounts of hair in the hairbrush after brushing it. Um, Along with that, my hair was so frizzy. Like it was very, very frizzy to like I
Mm-hmm.
had I naturally have like drier hair, but it was very bad and it was definitely from, lack of nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, was not getting like to my hair. I definitely noticed, yeah, skin changes, more acne in places that I never really ever
Oh,
had
really?
acne. I
Okay.
never struggled with acne. It was all like it was mostly like on my forehead and around my mouth. So I definitely think that was a cause. And then, just body changes, like that I could see was definitely like the showing of like my rib cage and kind of like more flat chested and more flat in the back because when people struggle with anorexia, sometimes the body takes nutrition from your chest part to in order to get nutrition that you're not putting in for your body. So I definitely noticed more of like that aspect. um but yeah, so those were kind of some of the changes I saw physically. um
What would you say during this time? Like, okay, you're into COVID. How many, when you started noticing more of those changes, it wasn't just a body transformation, it started affecting your skin, your hair. How many months do you think you were into it by now? Because you already were kind of aware
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
what anorexia is, what body um yeah, couldn't think of the
Yeah.
word, but you
Oh,
already knew
yeah.
beforehand. So how
Mhm.
far down do you think you were at this point?
Yeah, I think it was about like I would say 3, 4 months in.
Oh, so it was fast.
Yeah, it was very, very, very quick. I remember just like even looking back at the photos that I took of myself, it was like it just went downhill really, really quick.
You
Um,
still have those photos.
I do. I'm currently working on deleting them.
I
Um,
imagine it's a trigger, but at the same time, it's a
yeah.
reminder how far you've come.
Yes, yeah. I sometimes like I like looking at them
Mm.
just to, it's been a journey and like just kind of yeah, seeing how far I've come. But then again, it's like I don't really need these to be on my phone anymore. I'm not in that
Mm.
place anymore. Do I really want to be looking at them?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I still have the photos, but yeah, I it just went like I said downhill really quick. And I
yeah.
think the reason why it kind of like I got to that place where I just kept going downhill was because my parents actually we didn't really know what it really was at first. You know, again, like they'd never experienced this, so
Right.
they were like learning right beside me. At that point, I did have an eating disorder therapist through the
Okay, so
MA
you're
program.
okay, so you already got to that point. So what,
Yeah,
because you mentioned that your parents, was it mostly like your mom involved with it, or was your
yeah,
dad, or was it
yeah.
mostly
It
like
was
one or the
mostly my mom. Yeah,
okay,
she
which
was
which
big.
makes
Yeah,
sense with a
right.
daughter. It's a
Yeah,
motherly instinct.
100%. Yeah,
So you mentioned that she was noticing you were losing weight. I mean, obviously you guys are seeing each other all the time at this
right.
point during lockdown.
Yeah,
What I guess what was, I don't want to say it wasn't the final straw that's like she's like something is going on. Was it her that like sat you down, or did you just go to her and be like, there's something going on, I
yeah,
need help?
yeah. And so it was mostly me, which it's really
That's
interesting.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
know. I was like, Mom, like something's not right. I remember talking to her, like I had a plan to talk to her right after she got home from work, and I we talked about it, and I was telling her how I was feeling. Like I feel like I don't want to eat food. I feel like, kind of some of those thoughts. And at that point, we never had an eating disorder diagnosis in mind. We didn't think anything of it
Yeah.
until we met with an eating disorder therapist and through the Emily program, and then she actually diagnosed it with anorexia, like right then and there. And I remember my mom and I were like, we were just in shock. Like we just
Yeah.
did not think this was like an actual eating disorder. Excuse me.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you were displaying the symptoms, but it became such a normal for you guys that at
100%.
that point you were like, let's just get these habits, let's get these bad habits out, let's get these good ones in. But you were already so far into it that it's almost like almost like you hit a rock bottom.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. It
What's
was
the Emily program?
So the Emily program, I think I want to say it's in Cleveland. I want to say it's like
Okay.
in Ohio. So the Emily program, it's a program for eating disorder patients. So you could either be an outpatient or an inpatient. So they had two different like types of therapies. And for eating disorder, people who are struggling with eating disorders, they typically do like a family-based therapy. So it's going to be like if you're an outpatient, it's typically like you meet with like you have your parents sitting with you with the
Hmm.
therapist. I was very lucky enough to be outpatient the whole for
Oh,
my whole
that's good.
journey. I remember I want to say I was like right on the edge or like so close to going into that inpatient therapy.
Oh, really?
I remember like my therapist at the time, she was like, we got to start looking at inpatient therapy. And I remember like I didn't want to be away from my mom. I
Mm.
didn't want to not have my phone or something. I was like,
Hmm.
I had seen so many things about it, and that was kind of like a motivator for me to like try and stay outpatient and
Yep,
work
yep.
through it so I didn't have to into go in somewhere.
Right,
And
and staying away from your family. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's so nuts because you went so fast into this. I bet the last thing you thought of was like, I am not that bad to have to literally stay away from my parents. How
100%.
much weight do you remember how much weight you lost?
So I remember I do. So I remember in a freshman in high school, so I was fairly tall, like for a girl, high school girl. I was like, I want to say like 5'7" at that point, so like pretty tall. Um, I think I was about 120 pounds, I was always in the normal percentile for my age and height. And then I remember the lowest weight was 100 pounds.
Okay.
And
That's
so,
significant in that short time
yeah,
frame.
yeah, so about like 20 pounds down. And I wasn't my parents, they took away the scale. So I wasn't able to like step on the scale or anything. So that's the last that I remember. It could have been lower. I'm not quite sure. But I remember like seeing that number, just thinking like I've got to go even lower. Like I've got to be it's got to be lower than that.
Right, right. Because you've
Yeah.
already been doing it, so you've already it's so sad to say that you've already been training your body. So you're
Yeah.
like, I can
Right.
keep on going.
Yeah.
I've already been doing this. Nothing's stopping me from continuing, which is
Right.
the problem with the eating disorders is your body gets used to its new normal.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Oh,
And I remember like just thinking like with the skipping meals and stuff, I no longer had any hunger cues. So,
oh, okay. That's a big thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like when you
Wow.
like if you're not eating food, if you're like yeah, if you're not listening to your body, you're not listening to those hunger cues at first, like then it kind of progresses into you no longer know when your body is hungry. So, it's like your body doesn't tell you when it's hungry, so it makes it e a lot easier for the eating disorder to be like, "Oh, like I'm not even hungry." So I would always use that as an excuse as well because I actually did not feel hungry. So I was like, that's kind of goes along with like my body was kind of trained and like
Yeah.
used to not eating that it would no longer tell me when I was hungry.
What was before you went to see the therapist, you got diagnosed? Explain what was almost a typical meal like, and how did you start to incorporate food with the right nutrients back into your diet?
Yeah, so like you mean like before kind of all that?
Before, like during this whole being at home, what was like your normal daily food intake? Like some examples of that.
Yeah, yeah. So, 3 meals a day plus snacks was my normal. Um, so I would eat breakfast. I would typically eat like cereal for breakfast, all the breakfast types of foods. And
Mm,
then lunch, I would always eat like a sandwich, with like chips, like some side things. And
mhm,
then dinner was always, my parents would always cook dinner for us. So they had like a bunch of things they would do every day. Like we did like breakfast for dinner sometimes, and
mhm.
we had like a big variety of food. So, um, like I really never thought about, I didn't have to put any thinking into my meals before
It was
the
just
eating
in front of
disorder. It
you.
was totally just like especially with being at school, again, my parents would pack my lunch and it would totally just be, I wouldn't even think about it. So I would never think twice about like, oh, this is gonna make me fat or something like that.
Right, right.
So,
Yep, yep. You were just eating,
yeah.
just nourishing your body. You were
Yep.
active. You were doing all of that. So, like, what did you first start to change?
Yeah. So first, I would say was definitely the food portion sizes.
Okay.
I vividly remember the day it started was I think we had ordered in somewhere. I want to say it was Olive Garden. Um, and I had gotten like spaghetti, and I remember I only got, I'm gonna show you like this much spaghetti, this
Wow.
like this amount, and that is when I also kind of saw like my parents start to recognize it too. They were like, "Oh, like
Mm.
you're not gonna have any more, like is everything okay?" type of thing. And I remember that that's when it started was with the portions of my food. Um, because then it would start going each day, and then next day it was lunch. I would um have like 2 chicken nuggets for lunch. Or even like skip breakfast, 2 chicken nuggets for lunch, and then a very, very small portion of my dinner. So it definitely started with the food portions. That went first alongside the the very rigid working out.
Right. It's so interesting how you're like, I still remember
Yeah.
how years later that memory
Yeah.
of that meal you still remember. And I think that's just like the silent enemy of anorexia is that when you just start to watch portions, that's how it starts to get missed because people just think, oh, I'm just watching what I'm eating. And even you being in high school and being athletic, sports are so different now than when they were years ago. Like
Mhm.
watching your nutrition is a part of it. Whereas
100%.
before, it really was not like that. So I can just imagine like coming from a parent aspect of your parents being like, how did I not see this?
Hmm.
But they're they're probably in their eyes too. It's they're probably thinking, well, she's trying to keep up with the working out. She just
Yeah.
came from
Mhm.
playing sports into COVID. She's probably just watching, trying to
Yep.
get used to just doing things. So I can just imagine coming from their eyes. They're like, how did I not see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get into the Emily program. I'm sure you get worked with the dietitian too. How did they have to almost because at this point, yes, it's physical, but it's a mental game that you now
Yep.
have to rewire
Yeah.
your brain to go back into eating bigger portions, but nutrients that will supply your body, be able to put back the right amount of muscle, the right amount of weight.
Yeah.
How did you start to step back into that?
Yeah. 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 So through the Emily program, well, I had the Emily program therapist. I didn't actually work with a dietitian through them. I had an actual like medical doctor
Okay.
who worked with specifically eating disorder patients. So I would go to that eating disorder doctor, and then she kind of like hooked me up with a dietitian. Um, or a nutritionist, or
Yeah,
something
I'm
like
so bad.
that.
I wish I knew the difference. And I feel so bad for the people that the
I know.
nutritionists and dietitians that'll listen to this podcast as we're totally butchering what each one of them do.
I
They both
know.
do wonderful things.
They're great. I know. I wish I somebody has definitely told me the difference and I just
Yeah,
it slips my mind
I
sometimes,
know.
but I think
But
one
you
of the
were with the
two.
right person to guide
Yes.
you with food.
Yes. 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 Yeah. I remember the first like appointment with the eating disorder doctor. I had to do like a bunch of tests, like an EKG to see if my heart was okay
And
and
that's nuts. That's just
um
nuts in itself, how much those eating disorders that you
mhm.
don't realize the impact it does to your body. Like all the tests you have to do that you're like, why in the world would this do it? But like you said, at that point, when you get diagnosed with it, your body's taking nutrients from other areas, and the heart is a big muscle. So the fact that you had to do those tests is just eye-opening in
Yeah,
itself.
yep, yeah. Um, yeah, I totally had no idea that this eating disorder, like in my mind, this little innocent, like just trying to lose weight could like even affect my heart and my bones. I also ended up doing a bone density test as well. Um, and so that also, I think I had osteopenia, I
Okay.
think, which is not osteoporosis just yet.
Mhm.
It's like before that. So my bones were, like they lost a lot of density, I guess. I'm not 100% sure
Yeah, yeah.
all that, but I remember getting all those tests done and doing all that stuff and then being with the nutritionist and hearing how she like would take her hand and like saying that this much should be like your palm would be the amount of like protein you should have on your plate.
Okay.
And I was looking at that and I was like, no way am I doing that. I'm thinking, or well, the eating disorder is thinking, well, where are we gonna
Mhm.
like do that?
Where are you going to put that food in my
Yeah,
body?
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I would definitely say my mom was super helpful, like to get that information because I totally wasn't listening because I didn't want to be there. So, I'm really lucky my mom got like some of that information, but it even after, seeing the nutritionist, I definitely. It took like a very, very long time to start getting those meals back into like a better like portion.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and I remember I had to do I was no longer allowed to eat on my own. So I had to be monitored by my parents at dinner and at breakfast. And then, well, while I was at school, the eating disorder found many ways to try to get around that and
I was
hide
going to
the
say,
food.
how did you navigate lunch at this point? Because obviously you're back in school.
Hmm.
And is this something that your mom obviously probably had to tell the school about?
Yeah.
Or, okay, so it is something that she had to tell the school about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of explain how you're back in school, explain how you would kind of like attack kind of the lunch aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this might sound, weird, but it's a very common thing for people with eating disorders. They do like these sort of strange things. Um, I would take my lunch like before lunchtime, so in the morning, right when I got to school, I would take it and I would throw it away in the bathroom. So I threw it away in the bathroom um for the whole day so that like when I opened lunch I didn't have to so people wouldn't have to see me like throw away my lunch and then they would know and then they would tell my parents. But that didn't last because then people saw it in the trash can because I didn't cover it up with a paper towel. Um, so yeah, then I I got caught with that and then I my mom eventually had to start driving to my school, which was 45 minutes away from where I lived to come and like watch me eat lunch. Um, and then after that we kind of came up with something a little easier. So she
Mhm.
didn't have to drive that far. Um, we had like a teacher that would monitor um
Oh, okay.
my lunch. So then I had like somebody monitoring while I ate lunch. And I never wanted to like do that in front of like my teacher. So I feel like that like really worked for me was like knowing that um like one of the teachers was watching me and like just knowing that they would tell my parents like
Mhm.
I feel like that really it worked for me. I started kind of it took again like it took like a very long time, but
Yes.
I
Yes.
slowly got into
So you almost had so much respect for your parents on their dedication for you and helping you
yeah,
deal with this and work through it that I like how you said you did not want to embarrass because that's hard for anybody to admit to.
right.
And having the respect for your parents to be like
Mhm.
they've done this for me. I my mom is not going to come here every day. There's a teacher watching me. They've already done so much for me. I'm gonna just try my best to get
Yeah.
better. So
Yeah.
that's really hard, but so strong for you to admit that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that I remember just that was something I didn't realize actually until after the fact. I kind of had so much, like, totally way after. I have so much respect for my parents, and I'm so
Yeah.
lucky for
Oh,
like all the
good.
support that they've given me. But through the eating disorder, like through the thick of it, it was brutal, like
Yeah.
relationships and fights we would have. But
I can sense it in your voice because it's still
yeah.
fresh.
Yeah.
It's still fresh. So let's let's jump to it's something you're going to live with for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Eating disorders are one of those things. So you
Right.
get through high school and you're learning to deal with in your routine of high school, and then you
Yeah.
go to college.
Yes.
How, for somebody like you who has an eating disorder in high school, how did you make that transition to college? Because now you got to make your own food. You need to buy your own food. You need to understand the nutrients in food, and college food is not really nutritional whatsoever.
No, no, no,
So
no.
talk about your first semester.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I remember my parents were almost not gonna let me go to college if I didn't get better, if I
They
didn't
laid
like,
down the rules for
yeah,
you, made you work
yeah,
towards it.
yeah, yeah. So I was like,
Okay.
no way am I going to community college. No hate on community college. I just really wanted to get out of the house and
Yes,
be
yes. You
away
want to
and be on my
leave.
own. Yes. Yeah. So I was like, oh, no way. I need to do something. It definitely motivated me. Yeah. So freshman year of college was probably my hardest year of college, and I'm totally someone who's going to talk about, the bad parts of college because I think it's so important that, sometimes like we hear like a lot of like the glorifying of college, like, oh, it's so great, we partied every day. And it wasn't like that for me my freshman year. I had a lot of anxiety and I just wasn't like making connections with people. So my eating disorder thoughts were very, very loud my freshman year. So I was very just not going down a good path at that point. Um I was still eating, but I was not making healthy
Yeah.
choices for my body. I definitely was probably the heaviest I've been or ever my freshman year of college, and I didn't gain the freshman 15 as people say. I just definitely noticed, I was just not looking my healthiest. Um, and so that summer I actually I got hooked up with a dietitian who has impacted my life in a way that I can't even describe. I'm so, so grateful for her. Um, Her name is Amanda Liptak. Um, if anybody out there wants to look at her Facebook,
Okay.
she is incredible. I met with her and she was the one who actually helped me like become more knowledgeable about food than I ever was.
Mm,
She helped me with what should go on a plate. Um, she didn't do much of like the portions, which I liked because that was just like kind of an old trigger for me. So we did um we did like we focused more on what should go on your plate. Like she would
finding the
always,
balance with
yeah,
like
yeah,
protein, with veggies, with
yes.
carbs. So it's still almost taking the approach of portions, but she's not using